In the lush and vibrant Pari Kingdom, a unique friendship blossomed between Prince Koku and a wild yet endearing girl named Candy, popularly known as the Jungle Girl. Candy, who had grown up in the dense forest, she lived in the jungle. She wore cloth made of green leaves and played with wild animals. Her best companion was the majestic lion and the gentle elephant. Candy was accidentally discovered by Prince Koku in the thickest part of the Forbidden Forest during the Great War with the barbarians. You can watch The Jungle Girl Part 1 and The Jungle Girl Part 2 to know the beginning of this story. The link is available in the description. Please subscribe to our channel. It costs you nothing, but it means a lot to us. In the heart of Pari Kingdom, the air was alive with anticipation. King Bonga had announced that his son, Prince Koku, would soon be crowned as the crown prince and heir apparent. The village erupted in excitement as preparations for the grand ceremony began. The villagers were bustling with activities, washing, drying, and ironing their finest clothes, women weaving and braiding their hair, men grooming and shaving themselves. The atmosphere was charged with energy and joy as the kingdom united for the momentous event. Among the hustle and bustle, Prince Koku with his entourage and Candy had just returned from a journey from Ojuju Kingdom. Candy, a carefree and spirited girl, was like bread and butter with Prince Koku, and the two shared a bond of trust and loyalty. As they walked through the village, they marveled at the sight of everyone working together in harmony. The hunters and fishermen were preparing for the feast, while farmers harvested their best crops, including palm wine and various foods. In the palace, King Bonga watched over the preparations with a sense of pride. He had high hopes for Prince Koku, who had shown great promise as a leader. The king knew that the future of Pari Kingdom rested in his son's capable hands. As the preparations continued, the king sent out invitations to neighboring kingdoms and villages, including the powerful Ojuju Kingdom. In Ojuju Kingdom, King Ai received the invitation with delight. He decided to send his daughter, Princess Tandy, to lead the delegation to Pari Kingdom. Princess Tandy was excited about the journey and the prospect of meeting Prince Koku, with whom she was destined to be wed. She hurried to her rival, Queen Taika, the senior queen, whom she preferred to her biological mother, and shared the news with her. Queen Taika encouraged her over-pampered stepdaughter, assuring her that her wedding to Prince Koku would soon follow the coronation. She promised to make all the necessary arrangements, filling Princess Tandy with excitement and anticipation. Little did she know, a sinister plot was unfolding in the shadows, one that would test the strength and courage of Prince Koku and his people. Far from the joyous preparations in Pari Kingdom, a dark plan was taking shape. In a remote barack, hidden deep within the forest, a wealthy man with his face concealed gathered a group of fierce warriors. The man's voice was cold and commanding as he addressed them. He promised them riches beyond their wildest dreams if they would carry out his orders. The warriors listened intently as the man outlined his plan. On the day of Prince Koku's coronation, they were to attack Pari Kingdom and ensure the complete destruction of the royal family and their guests. The man handed a bag of gold to the leader of the warriors, swearing him to secrecy about his identity. The leader accepted the gold and promised to carry out the plan without fail. Meanwhile, in Pari Kingdom, Candy was enjoying a peaceful day in the palace garden. The garden was her favorite place, a sanctuary filled with colorful flowers and chirping birds. As she played among the flowers, an eagle suddenly flew down and landed beside her. To Candy, who can speak and understand animals' language, the eagle began to speak, revealing the evil plot against Pari Kingdom and Prince Koku. The eagle's words sent a chill down Candy's spine. She knew she had to act quickly to protect the kingdom, most importantly Prince Koku. Without wasting a moment, she gathered a group of loyal warriors who often trained with her. She shared the eagle's warning and devised a plan to thwart the impending wicked attack. The Parian warriors, trusting Candy's leadership, agreed to follow her. They also agreed to keep their mission a secret, even from Prince Koku. Not knowing to them that Prince Koku had overheard their conversation. Hidden behind a nearby tree, he listened to every word. Though he was concerned for Candy's safety, he decided to let her proceed with her plan, knowing that she needed to prove herself. He vowed to support her from the shadows, ready to step in if things went wrong. The dawn of the coronation day was greeted with joyous anticipation. The streets of Fairy Kingdom were adorned with vibrant decorations, and the air was filled with the sound of celebration. Dignitaries and emissaries from far and wide arrived, each bringing their unique cultures and traditions to the festivities. The palace buzzed with activity as final preparations were made. Princess Tandy of Ojuju Kingdom and her entourage made a grand entrance into the kingdom. Her crown, adorned with golden embellishments, was a sight to behold. The people of Fairy Kingdom gathered to catch a glimpse of the princess, who was destined to marry their beloved Prince Koku. Tandy's heart raced with excitement as she imagined her future as the Queen of Fairy Kingdom. Prince Koku, ever the gracious host, welcomed all the delegates with warmth and respect. He ensured that everyone was taken care of and that their needs were met. His mind, however, was partly preoccupied with thoughts of Candy and the dangerous mission she was undertaking. He couldn't help but worry about her safety, even though he trusted her abilities. Princess Tandy noticed Prince Koku's distraction but attributed it to the pressures of the upcoming ceremony. She was pleased not to see Candy by his side, as she had always felt a pang of jealousy toward the girl who shared such a close bond with the prince. Little did she know, Candy was far from the palace, ensuring the kingdom's safety from unseen threats. As night fell, Candy and her warriors set out into the jungle, determined to protect their kingdom. The weight of their mission hung heavy on their shoulders, but their resolve was unbreakable. They moved silently through the forest, unaware that Prince Koku was following them closely, his heart filled with pride and worry for his loyal warriors. Candy and her group of loyal warriors moved stealthily through the dense jungle. The moonlight filtered through the canopy, casting eerie shadows on the forest floor. The atmosphere was tense, but Candy's resolve never wavered. She led her warriors with confidence, her mind focused on the task ahead. As they journeyed deeper into the forest, they discussed their plan in hushed tones. Candy had devised a strategy to create a spectacle that would scare the invaders away. She had gathered wooden racks, each designed to hold 10 flaming torches. When lit, these torches would create an illusion of a massive, advancing army. Coupled with the noise from the animals, it would be enough to terrify the invaders and send them fleeing. Not knowing to Candy, Prince Koku and his squad were not far behind. Koku had decided to provide backup, ensuring that Candy and her warriors would not face the danger alone. He had instructed his men to stay hidden and intervene only if necessary. He admired Candy's bravery and wanted to support her without overshadowing her efforts. The forest was alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures. Every rustle of leaves and distant howl added to the tension. Candy's heart pounded in her chest, but she remained focused. She could sense the presence of her enemies and knew that the fate of Fairy Kingdom rested on her shoulders. As they approached the enemy camp, Candy signaled her warriors to stop. They crouched low, peering through the underbrush at the campfires burning in the distance. The invaders were gathered around, unaware of the approaching threat. Candy whispered final instructions to her warriors, and they prepared to execute their plan. With a deep breath, Candy lit the first torch. One by one, the torches were ignited, their flames flickering brightly in the darkness. The warriors began to move forward, holding the racks high, creating the illusion of a vast army. The forest erupted with noise as animals, following Candy's instructions, began to make their presence known. The invaders looked up, startled by the sight of countless torches and the cacophony of sounds. Fear spread through their ranks like wildfire. Convinced that they were about to be overwhelmed by a massive force, they panicked. Dropping their weapons, they fled into the night, their cries of terror echoing through the forest. Candy's heart soared with triumph. Her plan had worked. She and her warriors advanced cautiously, ready for any remaining threats. But the camp was deserted. They had succeeded in scaring off the invaders without a single fight. The warriors cheered, their voices rising in a jubilant chorus. Candy felt a deep sense of pride and relief. From his hidden vantage point, Prince Koku watched with admiration. Candy had proven herself to be a true leader, and her bravery had saved the kingdom. As he prepared to join the celebration, he couldn't help but feel a surge of pride for Kendi. Prince Koku and his squad make sure of arresting some few of the invaders who are trying to escape. As the sun set and the sky turned a deep shade of purple, the atmosphere in Peri Kingdom grew even more festive. The night before the coronation was filled with music, dance, and laughter. The people celebrated with all their might, unaware of the shadows lurking just beyond their borders. In the jungle, Kendi and her warriors remained vigilant. They knew that their success had only temporarily driven off the invaders. They had to stay alert to ensure the safety of the kingdom. As they stood guard, their thoughts were filled with pride and a sense of duty. Unbeknownst to Kendi, Prince Koku had not left her side. He and his squad had set up a backup camp, ready to intervene if necessary. Koku's respect for Kendi grew with each passing moment. She had shown immense bravery and leadership, qualities that he admired deeply. As the festivities continued in Peri Kingdom, the night before the coronation was a blend of joy and anxiety. The villagers celebrated with songs and dances, their spirits lifted by the promise of a bright future under Prince Koku's leadership. Bonfires lit up the night, and the air was filled with the scent of roasted meats and the laughter of children. In the palace, King Bonga held a final meeting with his council, ensuring that every detail of the coronation was in place. His mind was at ease, confident that the ceremony would be a grand success. He could not have known the danger that had lurked so close to disrupting everything they had planned. Meanwhile, at the outskirts of Peri Kingdom, Kendi and her warriors remained on high alert. They had decided to keep a close watch on the enemy's movements, ensuring that the invaders did not regroup and attempt another attack. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sounds being the rustle of leaves and the occasional call of a night bird. Prince Koku, hidden nearby, watched over Kendi and her group. His respect for her had deepened, and he felt a sense of pride in her accomplishments. He knew that Kendi's actions had saved the kingdom from disaster, and he was determined to support her in any way he could. His squad of warriors remained vigilant, ready to provide backup if needed. As the night wore on, Kendi's warriors began to relax slightly, confident that the immediate threat had been neutralized. They built a small campfire and shared stories of past battles and adventures. Kendi, however, remained focused, her eyes scanning the dark forest for any sign of movement. She knew that the enemy could return at any moment, and she was determined to be ready. Back in the palace, Princess Tande was preparing for the grand ceremony. She donned her finest attire, her heart filled with anticipation. She had long dreamt of this moment, of standing beside Prince Koku as his queen. But her thoughts were also tinged with jealousy, knowing that Kendi held a special place in Koku's heart. She resolved to find a way to secure her position and remove Kendi from the picture once and for all. As dawn approached, the first light of day began to pierce the darkness. The villagers, exhausted from their celebrations, began to drift off to sleep, dreaming of the grand coronation that awaited them. Kendi and her warriors remained vigilant, knowing that their mission was not yet complete. Prince Koku watched over them, his heart filled with a mixture of pride and worry. The sun rose over Peri Kingdom, casting a golden glow over the land. The day of the coronation had finally arrived, and the kingdom was alive with excitement. The streets were filled with people dressed in their finest clothes, their faces beaming with anticipation. The air was filled with the sound of music and laughter as the villagers made their way to the palace to witness the grand ceremony. Inside the palace, King Bonga and his council were making final preparations. The grand hall was decorated with vibrant tapestries and flowers, and a throne had been placed at the center of the room for Prince Koku. The dignitaries and emissaries from neighboring kingdoms and villages had gathered, eager to witness the crowning of the new heir. Prince Koku, dressed in royal attire, stood ready to greet the guests. His mind, however, was preoccupied with thoughts of Kendi. He knew she was still out there, protecting the kingdom from potential threats. He felt a pang of guilt for not being by her side, but he also understood the importance of the ceremony. He had to fulfill his duty as the crown prince, even as he worried for his friend's safety. Princess Tande, resplendent in her royal gown, stood beside Prince Koku. She smiled and greeted the guests, her heart filled with anticipation. She had waited for this day for a long time and was determined to make it a success. Yet, the thought of Kendi still lingered in her mind, fueling her jealousy and determination to secure her place by Koku's side. As the ceremony began, the grand hall filled with the sound of trumpets and drums. The guests took their seats, and King Bonga stepped forward to address the crowd. He spoke of the great legacy of Peri Kingdom and the bright future that awaited them under Prince Koku's leadership. The crowd cheered, their voices echoing through the hall. But as the ceremony progressed, an unease began to settle over the attendees. Prince Koku was nowhere to be found. The king sent messengers to search for him, but they returned empty-handed. The guests began to murmur, their excitement turning to concern. Princess Tandi, her heart sinking, led a search party to look for the prince, but he was nowhere to be found. Just as King Bonga was about to cancel the coronation, the doors to the grand hall burst open. Prince Koku, dressed in warrior attire, strode in with a group of warriors and the captured invaders. The crowd gasped in surprise and relief. Prince Koku bowed before the king and addressed the crowd, apologizing for his absence and recounting the tale of their victory over the invaders. He praised Kendi's bravery and leadership, explaining how her actions had saved the kingdom. The crowd erupted in cheers, their admiration for Kendi growing. But Kendi herself was still missing. The king sent men to bring her and her squad back to the palace for their reward. As the ceremony resumed, Prince Koku felt a mixture of pride and sadness. He had fulfilled his duty, but his heart was heavy with worry for Kendi. Princess Tandi, meanwhile, seethed with jealousy. She knew that Kendi had captured the admiration and respect of the kingdom, and she vowed to find a way to remove her rival once and for all. With the coronation ceremony concluded, the guests and villagers returned to their celebrations. The kingdom buzzed with excitement and pride, their hearts filled with admiration for both Prince Koku and Kendi. The tale of their bravery spread like wildfire, and Kendi became a hero in the eyes of the people. Prince Koku, however, could not shake the feeling of unease. He knew that the danger was not entirely over and that Kendi was still out there, ensuring the kingdom's safety. He decided to visit the outskirts where Kendi and her warriors were stationed, to check on their well-being and bring them back to the palace for their well-deserved recognition. Princess Tandi watched Prince Koku live with a mixture of jealousy and determination. She had seen the admiration in Koku's eyes when he spoke of Kendi, and it stung her deeply. She knew that Kendi's presence posed a threat to her future with Prince Koku, and she was determined to find a way to eliminate that threat. At the border of Peri Kingdom, Kendi and her warriors stood guard, their eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of danger. They had successfully driven off the invaders, but they knew that vigilance was crucial to ensuring the kingdom's safety. Kendi's heart was heavy with worry, but she remained focused, her determination unwavering. As Prince Koku approached the border, Kendi spotted him and rushed to greet him. The sight of Prince Koku brought a sense of relief and joy. Koku embraced Kendi, expressing his gratitude for her bravery and leadership. He told her of the kingdom's admiration and the king's desire to reward her and her warriors. Kendi smiled, but her mind remained focused on their mission. She knew that they had to stay vigilant and ensure that no further threats emerged. She thanked Prince Koku for his support and reassured him that they would continue to protect the kingdom. Secretly, Princess Tandi was already scheming. She had conspired with a palace staff member to frame Kendi for treachery. They hired a woman who was Kendi's former teacher, Madame Elara, who taught Kendi how to write. They forged a letter, allegedly from the leader of the invaders, thanking Kendi for providing information. The letter was planted in Kendi's quarters, waiting to be discovered. When Kendi and her warriors returned to the palace, they were greeted with cheers and admiration. King Bonga praised their bravery and announced that they would be rewarded for their heroic actions. But Princess Tandi was not done with her plans. She informed the king that she had received information from Ojuju Kingdom, claiming that Kendi had been seen with the leader of the invaders. King Bonga, furious at the betrayal, ordered a search of Kendi's quarters. The forged letter was found, and the king's anger boiled over. Believing Kendi to be a traitor, he sentenced her to death by hanging at the entrance of the palace. Kendi was heartbroken, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded her innocence. Prince Koku, however, stood by her side, defending her fiercely. He threatened to renounce his title and leave the kingdom if Candy was not spared. His defiance shocked everyone, including King Bonga. After hours of heated debate, the king relented, but only partially. He banished Candy from Peri Kingdom forever, a decision that broke Candy's heart. Princess Tandy watched with satisfaction as Candy left the kingdom in tears. She believed that she had finally removed her rival and secured her place beside Prince Koku. But the truth of Candy's bravery and loyalty lived on in the hearts of the people, and her story became a cherished legend in Peri Kingdom. Candy walked away from Peri Kingdom, her heart heavy with sorrow and betrayal. Tears streamed down her face as she left behind the land she loved and fought so hard to protect.
Watch out for Part 4.